Today I want to talk to you about the intuitive eating principle that no one seems to talk about. Sure, if somebody is talking about all 10 principles, this one does get a mention, but it's one of the principles that seems to get the most lost. And yet, when I run my intuitive eating course, one of the things I do is I ask the participants to pick out the intuitive eating principle that they believe if they were able to implement that principle in their life, it would have the biggest difference on their relationship with food. Probably about a third of the people choose this one. And I know I'm building this up, but I don't know what I'm going to do with the title and thumbnail for this video yet. So I may have already told you what principle it is I'm going to talk about, but it's principle 7, which is cope with your emotions with kindness. Interestingly, when intuitive eating was first thought up back in the 90s, this one used to be called manage your emotions without turning to food. And since then, intuitive eating has softened its stance on emotional eating. Nowadays, certainly in the food freedom world, it's widely accepted that emotional eating can be a very normal part of a healthy relationship with food. But of course, when emotional eating starts to feel compulsive or it becomes chronic, it can then start to cause more unwanted emotions because of the emotional eating itself. Okay, so why kindness? How does being kind to yourself about your emotions, how does that make a difference to how you eat? Is it a case of if you're kinder to yourself about your emotions, then you will want to emotionally eat less? It's one of those things that sounds all well and good. I mean, sure, yeah, it's nice to be nice and all of that, but how is it actually going to make an actual change in my behavior around food? And here's the thing, if emotional eating is chronic, then it seems clear that what needs to happen, or the skill that needs to be developed, is the capacity to be with your emotions, to experience your emotions. Now, if you've ever read anything about emotional eating, or you've watched any content on emotional eating, the advice tends to be quite generic, maybe even a bit basic. It can be things like, oh, instead of emotionally eating, why don't you have a bath? Why don't you go for a walk? Or why don't you call a friend? Well, if I had an urge to binge and I was feeling that agitation and I just wanted to check out of life for a while because I was feeling overwhelmed, there's no way that having a bath, going for a walk, or calling someone is going to feel like a viable or appealing option in that moment. So I needed something more. I think we tend to approach emotions in a very rational way, and then in the moment of emotion, though that rational thinking, it doesn't connect, it doesn't seem to make sense. So kindness is a way through that sense of when the emotions feel irrational or the emotions just feel too big. It's all very well saying you need to learn to sit with your emotions and emotions can't actually hurt you or emotions will pass. But the fact is, in the moment when you are feeling whatever you are feeling, you need to feel safe enough to be with that emotion. And the thing that makes you feel unsafe is what you believe that emotion means. So let's say that you are feeling loneliness. What do you believe about the fact you're feeling lonely? Because it could be, do you know what, I feel lonely and I believe that I feel lonely because no one wants to be with me. And so I feel shame about feeling lonely. Or it could be that in order to be with the loneliness, you have to confront this belief or this judgment that you hold, that you should have, sorry, I've got a cat attacking me, that you should have been able to put yourself out there more. And so there's two ways that you're likely to be judging your emotions. One, you're making it mean something about you. So if you are feeling resentful, or even if you're feeling tired, you think that you shouldn't be feeling that that's not the kind of person you want to be. You want to be full of energy, or you just want to be a nice person who never feels resentful. So that's one way you judge your emotions. The second way that you judge your emotions is, if we think about it, emotions are trying to get our attention. We are probably experiencing emotions because they have a message for us, or they believe that they have a message for us. So if you allow the emotion to be there, and the emotion is trying to tell you, you need to do something about this thing over here, and you haven't been doing something about that thing over there, then in order to be with the emotion that's telling you you should be doing the thing that you are not doing can feel pretty uncomfortable. You will be judging yourself for not taking the action that you believe is required in order to not feel this. And this could be a very specific situation that you're avoiding, or it could be this whole generalized sense of feeling like you are just constantly failing at life. Something I believe so strongly in my heart of hearts is that emotions have no moral value. How you feel is not wrong. Our actions, yes, there is a moral value in our actions because they tend to impact other people and ourselves. But the actual emotional experience itself doesn't mean anything about you as a person. So emotions have no moral value. You're not wrong for feeling them. And also your emotions, even if your emotions seem big and out of control, they do make sense when they're taken in the wider picture. So sometimes it's something small that creates a huge reaction. It could just be the way someone looks at you, and you saw in that look that that person was looking down on you, or they thought they were better than you. And maybe you feel shame or you feel anger. Maybe that shame and or anger feels enormous, and you're thinking that person who I don't even know just looked at me and I feel like I'm absolutely spiraling here. When you take your experience in the whole context of that moment, your history, and what you are believing in that moment, the emotion always makes sense. I'm just going to emphasize that and say it again. So there's the trigger, which is the moment, the initial thing that happens that triggers off that emotion. There is your whole history that is a big part of what triggered that emotion off. If you are feeling really comfortable and secure in your own skin, you are less likely to read that meaning into an ambiguous look. And thirdly, asking yourself what you believe in that moment, it makes sense what you're feeling. So you may have been told that you are too emotional because maybe in the moment you experience your emotions in a big way, but that is going to be influenced by your history and what you're believing. And so if you can make some sense of your history, and if you can check in with yourself and go, what am I believing in that moment? Let's use a classic household conflict. Your partner doesn't load the dishwasher after you ask them to do it. When you see they haven't done it, you are furious. But it's just one incident of not loading the dishwasher. But in the moment, if you asked yourself, what am I believing in this moment? Chances are it would be along the lines of, they never listen to me, they don't help me, they don't support me, I have to do everything falls on me. Why am I the one who has to pick up the slack all the time? So when you take all of that into account, plus your history, because let's say that your partner always loads the dishwasher and does a great job at it, and this one day they don't, probably not going to have as big a reaction than if this is an ongoing back and forth thing about dishwashing duties. And here's what I found about being so much kinder to myself about what I'm feeling. I feel soothed in a way that food used to soothe me. And it is more stable, it's more consistent. Food soothed more in a, let's just forget about this kind of way. Whereas the self-kindness soothes in a more, I'm okay, I'm safe, this is uncomfortable, but this is okay, we can do this, we're going to get through this. So if you're thinking this is all well and good, but how do I do it? I just want to offer a little 3-step process to give you something to hang on to in those moments if you want to try to practice this a bit more. So step 1 is to identify what you are feeling. Now, you might not know what you're feeling, or you might be feeling a whole bunch of stuff. You don't have to delve into it, pull it all apart and go into some kind of deep analysis. It can be enough just to find some words to put on your experience. So it could be, let's say you're feeling a whole load of things, but you don't know why. It could be, I'm feeling agitated and confused. Or if you can't find the emotion, you might say that I'm feeling tense or I'm feeling stressed. And rather than using the words I'm feeling, I'm a big fan of using the term I am experiencing. So I'm experiencing agitation. I'm experiencing shame. I'm experiencing fear. What I love about the phrase I am experiencing This is an experience, it's not me. It's no representation of who I am. And this feeling doesn't have to represent all the ways I'm getting it wrong. That's number one, identify or just find the language. Language is like anchors. It gives us something to hold on to when we're trying to make sense of what might be just being experienced as sensation and chaos, or disconnect and confusion, depending on how your nervous system runs. And so then the second step is to validate, validate, validate. Because the validation part is around you are not wrong for feeling the emotion, which doesn't mean you don't get to a point where you might question the story around it, because the emotion might be based on an inaccurate story or on the past. But that still doesn't make you wrong, because it's not a right and wrong thing. Even if in that moment your perspective is distorted, you've just got distorted perspective. We all get distorted perspective sometimes. I think it's very human. So sometimes in order to validate, it's a case of, okay, what am I believing in this moment? And gosh, when I ask myself this question, sometimes when I have this sense of, itchy agitation, I'm feeling something, I can't quite find what I'm feeling, I'll ask myself, what am I believing about myself in this moment? And what am I believing about life in this moment? These are for the more vague moments. What am I believing? And when I actually ask the question and I look, sometimes the answers that come up, I'm like, I had no idea that I was believing that. I had no idea that was going on in my mind, but my body was expressing it in this sense of agitation, or in a low mood perhaps. For some of you, this might express more like anxiety. I tend to run on the lower side rather on the anxious side of the scale. When our emotions aren't validated, because this is when the judgment comes in, and we judge ourselves for what we feel, we create more and more uncomfortable feelings, because now we're feeling shame about what we're feeling. When you make yourself wrong, that's how it's going to come up. It's going to come up as a sense of shame, as a sense of failing. And to feel like you are wrong, there's something fundamentally wrong with you, why would you want to stay with that when food is offering you an escape from it for a bit? This is where the kindness part is so important, and to validate emotions is a very kind thing to do. Sometimes we try to rationalize our feelings away, and this doesn't work if you do it as a way of invalidating the feeling, of making yourself wrong for feeling this way in the first place. But if we validate the feeling, if we can go, oh, I can see why this feeling is here, and this makes sense, and I'm not wrong for feeling it, then that feeling can kind of relax a bit. It's like, okay, I've been heard, you've heard and accepted I'm here, now over to you to make a decision. At that point, rationalization can come in. As a therapist, the amount of times I see this in therapists, someone comes in and they're carrying so much guilt around something, and I might normalize and validate their experience. And you see like the energy settle. And now we can start being curious. Now we can start questioning. It's not so much that everything we feel is right, because it's not a right and wrong thing. It's just that everything we feel makes sense in the big picture. We want to make sure, and we're trying to be kind to ourselves, that we speak to the part of us that is having the big feelings, and we offer that. And step 3 is to either resolve or reassure. Sometimes emotions can be resolved just by questioning the story around them. When the emotion has been validated and it's safe and allowed to be there, then we might question, like with the dishwasher example, okay, are these things that I'm believing actually true? Is it really true that I don't have the support, or am I just not asking for it clearly? You are allowed to find out it is true. You're not trying to talk yourself out of anything here. You're just trying to see what the truth might be. So sometimes emotions might be trying to tell us something that we can resolve. Maybe we feel guilty for the way we spoke to somebody, and that guilt is nagging at us. Maybe we want to go and speak to them and resolve that. But sometimes we have emotions and feelings that cannot be resolved, either because they are chronic, long and ongoing, or because in that moment we don't have the resources, or it's not the right time for us to be able to resolve it. So in the moment when it's like, I cannot resolve what this feeling is telling me, that's when we need reassurance. And by reassurance, I don't necessarily mean, oh, everything's going to be okay, don't worry about it. Reassurance is, I'm safe, I'm okay, I understand what this feeling is, or even if I don't understand it, the fact that I'm feeling it doesn't mean anything's wrong with me. I'm a big fan of speaking to yourself in the third person. I do it to myself all the time. So I might put my hand, I do this, I put my hand on my heart and I go, Sarah, you're okay. And when I do that, there's such a sense of allyship. So if I'm in emotional pain and I'm saying like, you're okay, it's not me going, this emotional pain doesn't matter or doesn't exist. It's like, even in this emotional pain, I'm okay. There is a kind voice that is going to come along. And even sometimes I'll do we. I'll say like, we're okay. It's almost like I'm pulling in another part of myself that isn't completely immersed in this emotional experience, who can come in as like an ally so that I can have my own back. So to reiterate, it is step one is to identify, put language on what you are emotionally experiencing. It gives you something to hold on to. It gives you a concept to start with. Number two is to validate. Your emotion makes sense and there is no moral value to the fact that you're feeling what you're feeling. And number three, resolve if you can. And if you can't, reassure. Don't judge yourself, because sometimes we think we should be able to resolve something that it just doesn't feel possible to. We just feel stuck sometimes. And that's okay. We're human beings. We're human beings. And you're not the only one who feels the way you do. You're not the only one who struggles with this stuff. And so if you want to connect with like-minded people, I run weekly therapy groups for people who are working on their relationship with food. I'll pop some details below if you're interested in coming and working with me and connecting with others who are also doing this work. So until next time, it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from him, and I'll see you on the next video.